Hey, beautiful people, it is your girl, Celeste Divine, sending you some positive energy on this self-care Saturday. I want to take a few moments to kind of talk to you all because a lot of my current and some of my brand new life coaching clients are kind of dealing with this issue of kind of always doing things the way that they've done it all the time. And so what I mean by that is that some people have had unhealthy practices for a long period of time. And instead of saying, okay, I'm going to do something different, they kind of fall back on those same patterns. So sometimes what you just need is an accountability partner, whether that's a therapist, whether that's a friend, whether that's a life coach. You need someone that's going to help you be accountable, but you got to be willing to do it differently. And it's very important that you start asking yourself, what exactly do I get from telling this story the way it's always been told? And what I mean by that is if you had a situation happen in your life where it didn't happen the way you wanted it to happen, and that becomes your story that you constantly say, well, that didn't happen the way I wanted it to happen, or I would have went and bought a house, but I couldn't buy a house because such and such wouldn't co-sign, or I would have went and bought a car, but I didn't buy a car because they wouldn't help me. If that has been your story and you've gotten power out of being able to say, that is the reason I'm not where I want to be, then you have to be willing to do it a little differently. And why do we have to do it different? Because whatever you've done previously isn't working any longer. So I know that change is difficult. Change is scary because that means that you're going to have to abandon the stinking thinking. And for some people, if they don't have a story of pain or trauma or betrayal, they don't have a story. And that becomes very challenging because if your identity has been formed into what you feel like is wrong or who has wronged you, then healing might be scary. Healing might be very scary, and healing might be also very difficult for you to actually try to accomplish because you'll feel like, well, if I do that, now I don't have a story. If I do that, then who am I going to be now? So your identity cannot be in your trauma. Your identity cannot be in your trauma and your pain. Who you are cannot be in everything that's wrong, everything or everyone that's wronged you. You have to be willing to do it differently. And no, it's not fun, and no, it's not always easy, but it's necessary. A lot of people are not where they want to be because they've made choices that have caused them not to be in those places. And it's okay. It's okay. We all have. Just own that. Okay? Own that. We don't have to keep the story going that, well, I would have done it, but this person did this, or I could have done that, but this person. Let that story go. Okay? It's time to rewrite the story. So as a life coach, one of the things I do with my clients is I help them stay accountable. I'm kind of like that little gnat that's flying around your face in the summertime and you really just want to get out your face. But the whole purpose of me being there is to help them stay accountable. So if you say that you want to go exercising today, but you talk yourself out of it, I'm going to say, well, lace up. Lace up. Go ahead and put your shoes on, get your clothes on, go to the place that you say you're going to go to and walk or work out and take pictures, record it, send it to me while you're doing it. Now they have no excuse not to do it. You know what I'm saying? So it's easy to talk yourself out of doing something great because it's scary. I know it's scary. I get it. But you have to be willing to do it a little bit different in order to get where you're trying to go. So I'm not going to be on here long today. I just wanted to offer you all that because I think sometimes the fear for most people is that they're scared to do it differently because that will mean that now they have to actually do something. Does that make sense? Because sometimes it's easy to say, well, I would have, but they didn't and they didn't. And okay, let's just own that space. Maybe someone didn't do what you thought they would do. Maybe they didn't, stick around like they were supposed to. Maybe they lied or they did betray you. But how long is that going to be your story, friends? How long? You get to decide that you're going to do this thing differently. You get to rewrite how the story ends. You get to rewrite this new chapter. So I just encourage you to acknowledge and identify what power do you get out of having the same story that you've been telling for a while. Does that help you say, well, this is why I'm not where I want to be? Or does it help you kind of have a reason for not being as successful or as driven or having accomplished those tasks that you said you're going to accomplish? Whatever it is, you got to be willing to do it differently. That's it. I just want to offer that to you, and it's not because I've never done things that kind of cause myself to be unproductive. Because I have done those things before, I can talk to you about what it means to start doing it differently. If that means getting a life coach or a therapist, then do that. If that means, changing your habits, then do that. A lot of us, in order to heal and evolve, we have to unlearn the stuff that we've learned all of our lives. That's important. Because a lot of times we think that, well, I learned it this way, so that's just how I am. That can't keep being an excuse as adults. We have to understand that we have to start being willing to do it differently. And that may look very different for everybody. You may have to cut off some people that you know are toxic energy in your life, because in order to actually evolve and get where you're trying to go, sometimes you have to realize you're going to have to do some stuff a little different. It's kind of like that old quote, in order to get some things you never gotten, you got to do some things you've never done. And so you got to be willing to do it differently. That may mean not going to the club and the parties with all your friends because you're saving up your money because you're trying to buy a house. That may mean reevaluating your relationship with money and your coping strategies when you feel stressed out and like you're going through things. Because a lot of people are not overweight because they're lazy. Very few people are overweight because they're just lazy. Most people are overweight because they have poor coping skills. And if you don't have a good coping skills, then guess what? The food may be your coping. Or if you shop all the time, that shopping is going to be your coping mechanism. That doesn't mean that you are not a great person. Doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means that you have to learn how to do something different, do it differently when it comes to coping. So this time when you get frustrated or betrayed or someone hurts your feelings or someone makes you mad at work, you don't go shop. You don't go eat. You actually say, okay, what am I feeling right now? What is this triggering for me? Because a lot of us as adults, we don't even know our own triggers. So we constantly get triggered all over again. And then we want to blame somebody else for it. And at the end of the day, you're the only one that can make you happy. That's it. You're the only one that can make you happy. You can't get in a relationship and think that person's supposed to make you happy. That's too much to expect for that person. That's not their job to make you happy. I know that goes against what a lot of these relationship books say, but I'm just going to tell you, it's not someone else's job to make you happy. Now, they can be happy themselves. You can be happy yourself, and you all can be happy in relationship with each other. But you're responsible for your own healing and you're responsible for your own happiness. So it's very important that you start thinking about how can I do things differently so that I can get the things I want. I was just talking to a client not too long ago, and she said, I think sometimes I talk myself out of doing great things because I'm kind of, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know why I do that, but I say I'm going to go do this and then I talk myself out of it. A lot of times we talk ourselves out of doing things that are productive for our wellness because we don't believe we deserve to be well. I'm going to say that again. We often talk ourselves out of doing things that are going to be productive for our wellness or our goals or whatever it is we're trying to accomplish because we secretly don't believe we deserve it. We see people on social media and we're like, oh, see, they're doing the stuff I want to do, but I can't do that. But why not you? The only person telling you that you can't do it is you. So I just want you to think about that. Be willing to do it differently so that you don't have the reason of saying, I couldn't do it. No, you chose not to do it. And it's okay if you chose not to do it, but own that. Own that. Because in order to change anything about your life, you have to be willing to do things differently, speak differently, surround yourself with different types of energy, read stuff that you haven't read before, or research some stuff that maybe you've never researched. You just got to be willing to do it differently. Okay? That's it. That's it. So I told y'all I wasn't going to be on here long because I'm about to go do some more self-care stuff. I got my hair braided this morning by the amazing LaTwana Creamer. And I'm about to go get these nails done and these toes done because, yeah, that's necessary. So Self-Care Saturday is in full effect. I just wanted to come to you all for a moment and speak to you all about doing it differently. I mean, you don't have to do everything the way it's already been done. You don't. You don't. In order to get where you've never gotten, where you've never been, you're going to have to do some stuff differently. You're going to have to start speaking differently, surrounding yourself with different energy, and being okay with not being in every single function when they happen. Because if you know your goals are outside of what everyone else is doing, then you got to be able to focus on that part by itself. I know this is not as fun. I know I don't get to go to all the gatherings, but I'm saving up. And because I'm saving up, that's it. You know, so you can kind of take but out of your vocabulary and just say, I can't go to that event because I got goals. That's it. I got goals and do it. So I just want to offer you all that because a few people that I've been working with lately with life coaching, as well as just some people that I know are really struggling with having the story that they've always had or doing the stuff that they've always done and wanting something different to happen. Nothing different is going to happen unless you do something different. You know, no one's going to give you these golden opportunities and yet you're doing stuff to kind of set yourself back. So you can't take 2 steps forward and 20 steps back and then say, well, you know, it's their fault that I took those steps back. No, it's yours. Own that. It's okay. It doesn't make you a bad person, but you got to own it so you can actually fix it and do it differently. Okay, so again, a lot of people are unhealthy or have addictions to shopping or addiction to even drugs, addiction to food, because they have poor coping skills, not because they're bad people. Okay? So I think that that's a very big misconception when you see people that are addicted to something, or they have unhealthy relationships with food or money, and they're spending all the time, and they're shopaholics, or even that they're hoarders. They have poor coping skills. It doesn't mean that they're bad people. So if that's you, then I say to you, get some kind of accountability partner and figure out exactly what is it going to take for you to do it differently. A lot of times, like I said earlier, people's stories and their identity are in all the trauma and all the betrayal and everyone that's wronged them. But if that is your story, then you're going to never want to heal. And the reason you're not going to want to heal is because you're going to be like, I'm so connected to what they did, but you don't know what they did to me, Celeste. You don't know what they said to me. Listen, friends, I know they probably did it to you. I know they probably said it to you, but that can't keep being your story. They can't. Because as an adult, you get to do it differently. You get to rewrite your story. And if you thought that by this age you would have accomplished all this laundry list of things you want to accomplish, I am sorry. That is not reality. Sometimes it just don't go the way you thought it was going to go, but you are the beautiful person that gets to author your new story. You get to rewrite it. Okay? So we got to stop mourning all the stuff that didn't happen by this age because we thought it was supposed to happen this way. And let's just be honest, okay? A lot of our goals and our expectations when we were in our early 20s were unrealistic. You know, I'm going to go to college and I'm going to graduate by 22. I'm going to get married to my college sweetheart. We're going to buy a house by 25. We're going to have our first baby by 26. Listen, it doesn't always go that way. And that's okay. Doesn't make you a bad person. Doesn't mean that you're failing. Doesn't mean that you're wasting your life away. None of those things. But we tell ourselves all this negative stuff about the fact that we are having a different journey, a different life experience than somebody else. You get to do life the way you want to do life. You get to do life the way you want to do life. And you get to rewrite the story and you get to do it differently. If you've been so stressed out because, you know, you're taking on everybody's stuff, stop taking it on. I tell y'all this all the time in my posts. Everyone's stuff is not yours. Don't pick up those bags. Those bags of frustration and loneliness and bitterness and betrayal. Don't pick those bags up. Those are not your bags. Erykah Badu said it best. She said, bag lady, you're going to hurt your back. Dragging all them bags like that. She said, I guess nobody ever told you that all you must hold on to is you. That's it. You. Okay? So I love you all. I like you. I value you. I respect you. It's just that I just had a great session with the client. And lately this has been a recurring theme, not just with this particular client, but with other people too that I'm working with and that I know is that they're so stuck in that story they've been telling for years. Well, you know, I didn't have my mama. I didn't have my daddy. Or, you know, this happened to me when I was 12. Listen, friends, I am not discounting or invalidating your experiences, your trauma, your betrayals. I am sorry those things happened to you. I am. However, your identity cannot be in your trauma. If your trauma is your identity, then you'll never be able to do life differently because you're so connected with thinking that you have to be in that trauma space in order to evolve, and you don't. That's a lie. You don't have to be in that space of what everyone did to you, what everyone said to you, how people didn't treat you the way they're supposed to. Listen, you are a beautiful beacon of light. You get to do life differently. You get to change the narrative and re-author your story. You don't have to do it the way you've been doing it, okay? If that means getting an accountability partner, get one. Whether that's a therapist or a life coach or a great friend that can be an anchor for you. Do that. If that means separating yourself from people who you know are not good for you, do it. Sometimes we stay in relationships with people hoping that something is going to make us feel better. That's not their responsibility to make you feel better. It's great if you just feel great and joy when you're around them. That's not what I'm saying. But it's not their responsibility to make you happy. It's yours. It's not their responsibility to heal you. It's yours. So be willing to do life differently so that you don't have this same story you're telling 5, 10, 20 years from now where I would have did this. I would have played in the NFL. I would have done this. I would have bought a house. But stop. Okay? Stop. Nobody want to hear them stories no more. Okay, friend? Some people won't tell you. So I'm going to tell you the truth. Don't nobody want to hear you keep whining or complaining about what you didn't do because someone else did something to you. I'm just being honest. Some people won't tell you that, but I'm going to tell you because I love you. Okay? You get to redo this thing. You get to change how your life goes going from this point forward. And people love saying to me, well, Celeste, you just always so positive. You seem like you never have anything going on in your life. Listen, I am positive, but let me tell you something. I remember what it was like to be in a very ugly space. Okay? I have not always made the best decisions. Okay? I had some stinking thinking problems for a period of time too. I know what it means to cheat myself out of the experiences I know I deserve because I'm in a space of thinking I don't deserve them. Okay? I'm speaking to you from wisdom. I'm not speaking to you from some mythical, historical place where it's like I'm on perfection. There is no lines of perfection, okay? There are imperfections, and I always say my imperfections are perfect. That's it. I've gone through my stuff. I still go through stuff. I'm still figuring it out, okay? But what I know, I want you to know too, so that you can do life differently, so you can be happy. You don't have to be envying those people you see on social media, taking all those trips and doing those great things. You don't know how hard they prayed to get to those places. You don't know how much time they had to save up to have that one moment. You don't. You just assume it all happened for them naturally overnight, and it didn't. You know what I'm saying? You get to just you got to be willing to do different things differently. I can't say that enough. If you don't hear me say nothing else, just remember I said I'm encouraging you to do it differently. Do life differently. Tell a different story. Rewrite your story even. You don't have to stay in this space of, they hurt me. I'm sorry they hurt you. They violated you. I'm so sorry they violated you. However, you get to take your power back. You do. You get to take your power back and live life the way you want to live it on your own terms. It doesn't matter that your mom wants you to do X, Y, Z and become this other person. If that doesn't make your spirit happy, you got to be willing to say, Mama, that's not what I want. That's not what I want for my life. It's okay if you got friends that say, girl, you need to go start this business because you're really funny and I think you're really smart. You got all this. If that's not what you want to do, just say, sis, that ain't what I want to do. Instead of feeling like you got to people please and become this person that everyone thinks you're supposed to become. And then you be upset and unhappy and slick resenting those people. But it's not their fault. They just poured into you what they saw for you, but you didn't have to accept that. You get to change it. You get to change it. You get to do things differently. So I encourage y'all to practice self-care. It's Self-Care Saturday. Love yourselves, like yourselves, be good to yourselves. I encourage you all to think positively. Speak words of kindness to yourself in the mirror every single day. You know, meditation is my baby. I love meditating. If that's not your thing, go out in nature. Discover what works for you for self-care, okay? Because self-care is something that I talk about often, but I think some people don't really understand. It doesn't have to have any monetary attachment to it. Sometimes self-care is just tuning out from everything. Sometimes you need to tune out from stuff. A lot of us want to get the tea the moment the tea come out. Let me tell you something. Sometimes you need to get away from the tea because the tea ain't for you. And that stuff sometimes causes you to have more anxiety than before you start listening to the tea. So, okay, be good to yourselves. Love yourselves. Be willing to do this thing differently. You don't have to keep having the same story you've always had. The same story. If they did this to me, they hurt me, they left me, they didn't do right by me. I'm sorry they didn't, friends. But now you get to do it differently. You don't have to overthink. You don't have to overanalyze. You get to just rewrite how this story goes for you, okay? So, I like you. I love you. I value you. And this is your girl, Celeste Divine. Thank you again to LaTwana Creamer for blessing this crown today. I love him. And just want to encourage y'all to stay well. Again, if you need an accountability partner, a life coach, or what have you, get that. Get that. Being a life coach is one of the funnest things in my life. But get that. Do whatever it takes. Call that friend. Call that whomever it is. And just get to your happy place. Find your happy. Do life differently. Do it differently. Be willing to do it differently so you don't keep making the same mistakes you made 10, 20 years ago and then having the same story for the next 5, 6 years. Your story should constantly be changing because you should constantly be evolving. Okay? All right, lovelies. I love y'all. Be good. Share this video with anybody you feel like might help. It might help. Okay? I just want to encourage you to do it differently. Okay? I love y'all. I like you. I value you. Y'all be well. Peace and love.